I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of taking things apart. This is my snowmobile. So far, I have no idea what I'm doing. And that is why we were at David's house. Let's begin. Cleaned up the sides a bit, made it look pretty nice. Already got the cuts done for this side. It's loose, I just gotta get it off. This is all the parts I needed. Already got some tires too. So now that the plan is, since we got a live axle now, we need to take this entire setup out. Got some pillow block bearings. We're gonna put those in place right here and right there. Got the jack shaft. Jack shaft is gonna mount right here. So I just cut one piece off and I looked. There's no need for this to be that thick. Like whatsoever. This is probably good, 10, 15 pounds right here. An hour and 45 minutes of just straight cutting because I have terrible blades. Boom. Now we can grind that flat. Do the next side. Just finished mounting the axle in. Got the pillow block bearings in. Now I think I'm going to have to mount the engine so I can see where the jack shaft goes because I don't want to mount the jack shaft and have to redesign everything once the engine's in. I have everything roughly mocked out. Obviously, everything is held in by clamps right now. But this is pretty much what it's going to look like, other than I have to buy a master cylinder for this thing. And I actually might run it down there on that part. And then I was looking. I can actually run this sprocket. Now we couldn't run this on the golf cart because it was too big. Hit the bottom of the frame. No, that's not the problem here because, well, this is one day of work. You can see that everything is already mocked up. It's going pretty smooth, and I will have to be ordering a different size sprocket because that one is actually too big for the wheels. There's about like that much clearance, and obviously I can't have that. I need to have a little bit more. I'm gonna get a little smaller sprocket, and then we're gonna put it right here. Got 1 out of 3 mounts made. Yes, I know these are some chunky welds, but let me tell you, those are not going to go anywhere, not going to break. If anything, these welds are going to break because the pipe I use is actually quite thin, so I had to run a few passes so I could make a fat weld over all of it. It's up on jack stands. Welded the back and the front of this mount, this motor mount. Now yes, every single motor mount weld, except right here and here, are absolutely overkill. There's literally no need to weld this much. Now, we're back to our rear motor mount. And I was actually looking, and I'm like, if I could just mount it like that, it might just be able to, fit. After 8 hours of work, the engine mounts are finally all done and all in. The engine is not supported by anything other than the 3 mounts that I have on it. So now we got to do our jack shaft. There goes my bit. That's 3. I think that's three of them already. Got my holes drilled. That took about 2 hours. 2 hours too long. Actually ran into a problem here. I'm not going to drill through the frame. I can't fit a nut in between that little tiny hole. Pause. I have to grind some of this out, and then I can put my nut in. Whoa. Then I can put it in. All right. And then it can be tight. Okay. And now we're going to actually be working on the support mount for the back. It's 1/4 inch thick steel we're going to be using. And we're going to be making kind of like a little mount like that. This bolt, and this bolt. So it can't push up. That about took 20 minutes. Cut the shape out. Just finished grinding one of the 2 supports right here. So I want to drill some holes, so put some grease on the bolts. Slap your piece on where you want it. Drill in the middle of the grease, and you got your holes. Lined up, and lined up. Yeah, I got to wiggle the room a little bit. These holes are lined up, and it's ready to be welded. Now we can finally mount the jack shaft. Waiting on the sprocket. Sometime tomorrow probably. Then I gotta come up with an exhaust. Mount the oil tank, gas tank, and any other tanks I need. Throttle and wiring. And she's golden. And now we are going to get started on our throttle. Today we have already hooked it up. Now we just need to make a little mount bracket for this thing to kind of clamp on into. Tighten these two lock nuts down. And then tomorrow, because it's too late again, we're going to drill a bracket right here and here. And it's going to come up, down, drill two holes on the top, clamp that in, and that will be the end of the throttle. Now we got the pedal set up. It's a little limp, so we're going to excite it a little bit. We're going to add a spring to its life, make it wake up a little bit. Okay, got some progress done. Might look a little different from the last time you guys seen it. Did a little bit of work with lines, making everything look a little bit nicer. Got the fuel pump in as well. And we have got our brakes in. Also forgot to mention, I did get the master cylinder in. And that is also hooked up as well. This thing should be done very soon. After all this mess, I am absolutely destroyed. I have so many cuts and I am tired. I had a bagel today and 6 pops. That's what has been fueling me. Now the reason why I'm telling you this is because still have no pressure in my lines. I bled both of them thoroughly 6 times. Here it comes out. I know you can hear it. Yeah, there it is. That is a bad seal. Brand new master cylinder. Over 2 hours of work wasted. My name's Jake. And here's my story. You know, whenever on Amazon you see some reviews on something and it's like all 5 stars, and there's a few people that are like, oh yeah, crappy quality, you know, something was bad, didn't work. Well, that was me. And that is why it is now 2 a.m. and I finally finished my brakes. I actually ended up taking off the master cylinder off my mower, putting it on here, and now we have stopping power. Now, yeah, they're a little bit squishy. However, I have brakes now, and I am okay with that. It does say that it is going to be 100% chance of rain, so I'm going to leave everything outside and probably just cry in the morning. All right, now Louie.
Primo's barbecue inside there.
I also got a belt. This is a 20 millimeters bigger. The last belt was the right belt for the sled, but since it was so worn, it's sunk in there, made it bigger essentially. So when you get a new belt, the new belt is shorter. And I built the torque or the jack shaft and engine around the old belt, not thinking that would be a problem because it's my first time working with belts. When I got a 20 millimeter bigger, these belts are actually about 20 bucks. So if this belt works, 20 bucks a belt is pretty dang good. This makes me so incredibly happy. Snug like a bug in a rug. It's perfect. It is perfect. So now we can tighten it if we want to. This goes up a little bit. I just tightened this bolt down so I don't have to loosen it. But these slide back and forth a little bit. This is perfect. I'm so happy about this. Some genius engineering right here you're about to witness. So I need to put this radiator on here, and I can't bolt this in because that is aluminum and that is steel. So therefore, I'm going to take some aluminum angle iron, have Dave weld it on top of the radiator somewhere along here, and then drill through the angle iron, bolt hole, boom, done. Now I don't know where I need to put the angle iron, so I need to temporarily put this radiator up there. Take some zip ties, put them together, wrap these zip ties around the radiator, and hold it still. Watch this. So that didn't work. Actually I decided I'm just gonna eyeball it. Put some little marks on the radiator there. Gotta have Dave do some aluminum welding, drill holes in the back of that, and then the radiator's mounted. Got the radiator all set, along with a few other little tiny things, like I got some switches installed. And tomorrow, gotta get that radiator all set. Gonna actually go down to Mount Pleasant. Probably stop at Austin's house tomorrow because I gotta go get some expansion chambers in Mount Pleasant at this graveyard they got. What do you think of that? That's pretty good. I like this dude, he's whipping. I got the cart loaded up. I think that was a pretty successful day. Probably gonna head her back home soon, gonna look at some clips on my phone. But we did get our pipes, which is good. Got a few other brakes and rotors and stuff for the other go-karts and the golf cart. Plan is, we're gonna take those two little U-pipes, put them in here, go up and around. We're gonna weld these. We're gonna weld this into there like that, like so. It's going to be bent, because it's a little crooked right now. It goes to the left, pause. I need to go straight, and this exhaust system kind of goes like this, so it should clear this perfectly fine. And that one's set. Exact same thing for the other one. Finally got it mounted to where I like it enough. I actually made my own little bushings with some 5/16 solid steel rod, I think it is. Oh, yeah. Yesterday, got the radiator and the hose is all connected. The hose, the fin actually does work. So we have to condense all of this down to about, yeah, pretty much nothing, to about probably either 2 or 3 wires, because we really only need the kill switch. We got our wires pretty well chopped down. So this is all the stuff we're not using. And then we need to find mounting locations for our CDI box and our voltage regulator somewhere on here. And we need to chop our wires down so they're not so long and it looks a lot better. Wiring harness is nice and short now. And we got our kill switch wired in up there. So I'm gonna take a little break from mounting the exhaust because I got a new racing seat. It came from a gaming chair I found on the side of the road. And the gaming chair is a lot longer than the last chair. And because of that, I can't have my battery right here. So what I did was, I got this plate, welded it flat. It's gonna sit like right there, which is perfect. It's gonna sit like right there. And then I'm gonna have a little cable running from the bottom here all the way around to secure it in place so it doesn't go anywhere. And by the way, I did get it running, just didn't get it on camera. It does run way too rich. That's why got new jets in. So we're gonna put those in, see how it runs. After many hours of trying to change the jets and get this thing to run, the jets were not the problem. The problem was there was a wire that was not bypassed for the rev system. And I figured that out. By we, I mean Gary. So now it runs and goes good. now nighttime, obviously. Ran this quite a bit today. Went through about 2 gallons, a little over 2 gallons of gas for my tank. I drove, I think, 10 miles. You might wonder what is the damage is done. Well, I can confidently tell you that there's none. Other than this, I lost this thing because it rattled so much. I also lost this one. I bought 4 of these locking nut things, whatever they're called. So I just put a nut on top of this, locked it down. This side actually worked quite good. Didn't do it to this side, so I don't have to go to the store tomorrow and buy one of those longer ones so I can put it on there. Fast forward to now. It sat outside last night in the rain, so it's all kind of disgusting. But I actually got rid of that old design and made like a little ice cream sandwich looking thing with some rubber mounts on it, because the reason why those clips sounded so raspy is because the gasket maker and this thing kept coming loose, and it kept pushing this part back, and it would lose compression. It wouldn't go fast. It sounded raspy. But now that is fixed with new designs, and it runs even better and faster.